Hey guys, today we're going to be making a spool knit bracelet. Spool knitting is something that we've covered in the past. We'll link to that video in the description. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to use 550 cord for the core, but then we're going to be wrapping 1/16 inch elastic cord around it. That's a material that we haven't used on this channel before. We're excited to try it out. Let's dive in. For this project, you're going to need 3 to 4 feet of 550 paracord, some 1/16 inch elastic cord, a knitting spool, we're using our smallest size, a binder clip, and a scissors and a lighter. And you'll also need a knotter's tool or a fid. To set up our knitting spool, we're going to put 2 pins in the top. We want to find the side that has 4 holes, so the 2 pins can be opposite of each other. Then we're going to fold our cord in half. So we've got a loop on one end, and we're going to measure our wrist with that loop end. Mark where the cords meet. And then you want to put your cord down through the knitting spool to that point, so that where your fingers are rests at the top. Then we're going to clamp the bottom just to mark that spot underneath. It'll be better to have your cord accidentally pull this way than go too far through this way, because then we'll have more knitting than we actually need, and we can always untie it. Then you're going to take your elastic cord and put it through the spool as well, and just leave a generous amount on this end. We'll be tying a knot in that later. Alright, now to the knotting. We're going to start by wrapping the cord around clockwise, around our 2 pegs, but for these first 2, we want to make a zigzag. So, kind of a figure 8 pattern with our cord in the middle, like that. The next 2 wraps, we're just going to do like normal, and then we want to keep a little bit of tension on this line, and also hold the bottom one in our fingers. Now we're going to take our knotter's tool and grab that bottom wrap. We've got 2 on each peg. So I'm going to do this bottom one first, and then I'll go to the top one. Take that bottom wrap and just pull it off the peg. And then you want to pull your cord coming out of the bottom of the spool. Just keep the tension on that line. This is just necessary for the first couple wraps. Then we'll go to the second peg and grab that bottom row off as well. Just loop it right over the peg. Keeping the tension on the top line, we want to pull on our bottom one a little bit more. We want to be pulling our braid into the spool as we weave. So for these next ones, we're just going to keep on wrapping around without doing the figure 8 pattern. That was just to get started. So wrapping around one more time, pull it off that bottom cord on both pegs. Make sure that that top cord stays on there. Then we'll wrap again. You want your 2 cords to be lying like this, in line with the pegs. And pull it down into the spool a little bit more. We're going to keep going with that pattern until we can see it coming out the other end. Then we'll show you what we have, so that you can kind of see the pattern and how it's supposed to look. Alright, so we've got a little bit of progress poking out the bottom of our spool. Yours should look something like this. We're going to keep on moving on until we get within about 1 or 2 inches of the end, and then we're going to stop. We'll catch you then. Okay, I've got about 1 inch left now. So now we can taper this off. I'm just going to leave about a foot more of cord, maybe a foot and a half, and we'll clip it. We're going to do one more wrap around, but we're going to do these one peg at a time. So I'll wrap around this first peg and do our loop just like before. And then I'm just going to pull that end all the way through. So I'm going to grab onto that loop that's still on the peg and just pull our slack through. And now we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Wrap around the peg, grab that bottom loop, pull it over the top, and then just pull the end out of that bottom loop that's left on the peg. Now we can pull it all off the spool. We've got our spool knitting done there. All right, so now just to taper off the end of our cord and keep it secure, I'm going to do a barrel knot. So I'm going to put my finger right here and wrap 3 wraps around. Then we're going to take the end and put it through all 3 wraps. So I'll take it off my fingers first. And I just want to tighten that down right next to our spool knitting. So kind of feed that cord through. And then pull the slack out. Pull that nice and tight. And then we'll go ahead and cut our line and melt the end. Shot cord doesn't melt quite as well as paracord, but it still has that nylon outer, so it'll work just fine here. The inside elastic will catch fire or melt really strangely. Also smells really bad, but that should be enough of a knot in the end of our cord to keep it from pulling undone. And then we're just going to do the same thing on our other end. So make sure your cord is pulled nice and tight. You haven't lost much of the slack on there. And then we'll just do that barrel knot in this end too. You can take your binder clip off. All right, if you haven't already, you want to make sure that this bracelet is the right size. You want your braided portion to meet up with your loop. This one's a little bit loose, but I think that's about the sizing that I would like. So we'll clip the end, and we're going to make a diamond knot in this end to make our closure. Okay, so I'll cover the diamond knot quickly here, but we'll also link to a tutorial where we do this in more depth. I like to do it in my hand, maybe around a finger. Make a loop here, fold it over. This one goes around, underneath that middle cord. So we've got a Carrick bend. And I'll take it off my fingers. This cord goes around our standing end, moving around counterclockwise and up through the middle. And we'll do the same thing with this other cord, around the standing end and up through the middle. Just kind of want to tease it gently together. Once it looks about right, we'll just slide it down right up against our braiding. You can do that by feeding one cord through at a time. Once you've tightened down the diamond knot where it's supposed to be, we'll just clip the end of that paracord too and melt it a little bit with our lighter. And there's our finished bracelet. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you'll stick around. We put out tutorials twice a week on paracord, knots, and things like this. We'll put a link in the description for all the supplies that we used for the shot cord, paracord, and all the tools. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.